It is the end of the Ice Age, and death for man comes swift and often.
I've learned a lot over the past few days. For example, don't put a lighter into a washing machine, or don't use a hoover to suck up cat litter. But the biggest thing that I've learned is that I was completely born at the wrong time, and I'm not talking about the wrong decade or in fact even the wrong era. I was born 10,000 years too late. And despite the lack of modern medicine, the internet and a few other luxuries, I think I could totally dig primitive man time. I am of course talking about Far Cry Primal, the latest addition to the Far Cry series. Join us as we take a look back in time at what could possibly be one of the most fun games of the year. I got my hands on the PS4 version of this game, released in February 2016. Far Cry Primal is your usual first-person, open-world action-adventure game given to us by the people over at Ubisoft. In this adventure, we take the role of Takkar, a Stone Age man whose hunting party managed to get themselves ambushed and taken out, leaving you and you alone to fend for yourself in the land of Oros, set in what I can only assume is sort of Central Europe. As part of the dying Wenja tribe, you find yourself alone, vulnerable, in a world full of things that just really want to eat you. But all's not lost, as there are other Wenjas scattered around the place, and it's your task to get them all together and rise back to power.
Shaja, Tanhich Lauta.
Rise to power? Surely we must have people to rise against. Well, of course we do. Along with the wildlife that want you dead, there are also two other rival tribes that seem to have taken a bit of a disliking to old Takkar. These are the Udam, big, stupid Neanderthal-looking dudes led by the equally big and stupid Ull, and Izila, who seem to have some odd fetish with fire and are commanded by the Sun Daughter, otherwise known as Batari. Obviously, this is not something you can do alone, so with the help of some specialist Wenja in the form of Tensei the Shaman, who will help you tame the land, Jaima the Huntress, who hunts, Karush the One-Eyed Warrior, and Woga the Crafter, you'll develop the arsenal and skills you need to take back the land of Oros. So the story is pretty much your typical rise to power from nothing get up. It's been done before. In fact, most Far Cry games follow this premise. But that being said, it's refreshing to do it in such a unique setting, so I for one am all for this.
Sadwiswaidam. Sustugistar. Purbijanha. Purtanhi.
This game came as a surprise to me. It didn't feel so long ago since Far Cry 4 came out, a game that I didn't get around to playing, so who knows, maybe in the future. Anyway, I digress. The point I'm getting at is that these games come out very quick and they are huge, so does the graphical quality suffer? Bit of a tough one for me. The last Far Cry game I played was Far Cry 3 on the Xbox 360, and for what I remember, even with this being on PS4, I wouldn't say the graphics are too far removed. There are your sort of obvious improvements in places, textures, lighting, but overall I'd say that it could have possibly been better. Then again, it could have been Fallout 4 graphics, and no one really wants that. Oh, do you like the colour orange? Well, you're in luck then. This game is draped in it. This bit is orange, this bit is orange. Oh look, this bit is also orange, the menu is orange, everything is orange. Look, sunrises and sunsets are pretty, but when everything is orange, my god does it make this game hard to play in some places. This has to be my biggest gripe with the graphics. But to every cloud is a silver lining, and to this lining of this orange cloud is the detail. You want to set something on fire? Go for it. Everything burns and it actually shows it. You want to turn the wildlife into unicorns? Well, you just go right ahead. You know what I like to do at the end of a long hard day? Blow up the moon. Immersion is a big one for this game, and you could be jarred out of it by the interface and the somewhat overpowering unlimited use of the hunter vision, but you can just turn that off if you're looking for the ultimate immersion. The interface anyway, you're stuck with the detective mode. So the graphics are hit and miss, and nothing is perfect, but really, it hits all the right notes at the right time when it is needed to, so I suppose I'd have to say that the graphics are fine, with room for improvement. Now, as you probably imagine, the score for this game is predominantly tribalish. Tribalish? Is that a word? Anyway, it's the Stone Age, so it's all drums and such. It's pretty inoffensive, and sometimes I do feel like I don't give the musical scores of games enough credit, but I have to say it's unimpressive. I don't remember much of it, so I can't really comment. What is impressive, however, is the dialogue in this game. As you'd probably imagine, it's not English. I don't even know if English as we know it was a thing back at that time, but it's not apparent here anyway. What is it then? Well, it's Orosing? I don't know what you call it. It's basically a whole new language made up by linguists and those dudes who decode languages. Apparently, from what I've read, they didn't want English as it would be out of place, and the language of the time isn't well known enough to use, so they made one up. I mean, take a listen to this. Would you think that is a language made especially for this game? Needless to say, that might be the single most impressive aspect of this entire game in its entirety. So let's look at it like this. If you've played a Far Cry game before, then you'll probably be quite comfortable with this game. I'll need to get something off my chest, and that is that I'm not a massive fan of first-person games. I feel it's clunky, it doesn't make me feel like I'm more into my character, and it's so unrealistic, but that's just my personal preference. That being said, however, I have to say that I'm not sure this would have worked in any other way than first-person. I mean, Far Cry has always been in first-person, I can't see why they'd change that now. This game comes with your box standard easy, medium and hard difficulties. I believe I played this on the medium difficulty, and that was more than enough difficulty for me anyway. In fact, I couldn't imagine playing some parts of this game on hard. With that in mind, it's time to get into the weapons of the game. Your main three weapons are your bow and arrow, club and spear, and once you get your spear maxed out, forget about the rest. It's the most overpowered piece of shit ever in a game. Most, if not everything, but boss fights are easy one-hit kills. Combine that with the assisted aiming, every shot is a headshot, and even if it's not, it will kill them anyway. The other weapons are fun to play with too, especially later in the game when you get the double bow and arrow. Again, might be a little bit overpowered, but hell, you are supposed to be some sort of feared hunter, aren't you? Speaking of being a feared hunter, a huge emphasis is placed on the taming of the wildlife. This, at first, is awesome. Having a tamed saber-toothed tiger, I truly did feel invincible. It didn't take long, however, for me to get bored of this feature due to the fact that whatever follower you have at the time is a complete moron, often getting itself horribly killed, and you spend half your time in fights just healing it. Oh, you can ride stuff though, so that's always good. You level up your skills with skill points. These are achieved by leveling, completing some of the side quests, or by gathering the literal hundreds of collectibles spread around Oros. While a lot of the skills are useful and make you that much stronger, some of them do seem to be a bit of a cop-out. For example, there is a skill so you can make 2 arrows rather than 1, then the same for 4. Don't you think that's a little bit anticlimactic? I mean, I certainly did. Crafting is also a big part of the game. This ranges from making healing things for yourself or upgrading your equipment. The crafting is done by gathering the materials from all around Oros. Animal skins, plants, woods and metals are your main bulk of, well, everything really. It is a pretty neat little feature, and it definitely makes you keep an eye out for while you're out there hunting and gathering. And finally, there's your village, in which your Wenja brothers and sisters live once you recruited them. Starting from a population of 0, this slowly increases over time upon completing objectives. This is something worth doing, as more people you get in your village, the more perks you get. For example, 50% experience boost, or receiving more daily goods to aid in your crafting ventures. The game weaves between story missions and the odd side mission, be that escort a group of people to safety, hunt a great beast, or just outright burn down an outpost. Although all these are fun at first, they can get a little bit stale quickly, as they are just the same mission with different dialogue. That's not all though, the village has to be upgraded by, you guessed it, collecting the resources for the huts and building them. This in turn unlocks more skills and in some cases actually advances the story. I rate a game's completion on how long it takes to get the Platinum Trophy if I'm playing on PS4. It took me around 32 hours to get it, so I guess you could say there's around 32 hours worth of gameplay here. That's not including all the collectibles, but I'd say an average person on an average playthrough, that'd be the sort of time you're looking at. So there's plenty to do. The game is pretty solid, and there wasn't really one incident of bugs or anything else that would, break the games. And in these kind of games, they're actually quite predominant sometimes, so that in itself is quite impressive. Overall, good solid performance. Now, this is something that sometimes I add to review, sometimes I don't. It's replayability. Is there any? Once the story is done, do you want to replay? Well, no. First I want to bring up is how easy the platinum is. I don't like it when games make it impossible to complete and get the platinum, but this one you don't even have to get 60% into it to get it. There are hundreds of collectibles. You get a trophy for getting 80. Your village can go up to 300 people. You get a trophy for getting 20. It's just too damn easy, and once I got on the platinum I didn't really see any reason to carry on playing. Overall, Far Cry Primal is ultimately an awesome game with a few little flaws. You could easily sink hours and hours into this game in a single sitting. In fact, the hardcore amongst you could probably see this out from start to finish in 2 or 3 sessions. Is it worth the money asked for it? Absolutely. However, I don't think it's worth paying for the DLCs and expansions that are set to come. I had a blast with this game, I truly did, but now that it's all over, I don't think I'll be going back to it anytime soon. So based on that and what I've said before, I'll have to give Far Cry Primal a 3.5 out of 5.